welcome back to another episode of Credentialed. I'm Jillian Mele. This podcast is all about taking risks, pivoting, entrepreneurship, business, motivation, and everything in between. I love sharing with you stories of other entrepreneurs who have taken the leap and are following their passions. You will continue to hear some of them in other episodes. And by the way, if you're in that category, someone who risked it all, pushed through, and is running a business based on passion, hard work, and a dream, please let me know. And don't forget to leave your comments. We'd love to know what you think about the episodes. Today, I want to talk about confidence, how it changes over time, why it is so important, especially in business settings, and ways that we can keep building it. If you listen to the episode titled, "It Can Be Lonely When You're Building, Keep Going," you heard me talk about my recent journey of starting yoga and how it has not started well. Flow Vinyasa sounds light, peaceful, and relaxing, doesn't it? But if you're like me, you can't get the steps down and your flow becomes sit there and act busy stretching because you're so lost and don't want to look completely incompetent. Welcome to my life. The reason I'm going back to this story is because it got me thinking, and I had somewhat of an epiphany about it this week and wanted to use it in this episode. So, after a third, somewhat failed attempt at class, I made a decision that I was going to go back a fourth, 10th, 20th time. You get the point. Whatever it takes. I made a choice to live in the uncomfortable, to keep showing up for class fully aware of the fact that I am by far the worst attempted yogi in there. Is that what we even call them? I don't even know. Each time I register for class, I'm actively choosing to feel embarrassed, not coordinated, and many other things. In fact, I'm embracing it. I welcome it, and I'm excited for the next class because I want to grow. I've challenged myself to become better and stronger. And with each uncomfortable step and each uncomfortable class, small bits of my confidence in that room grow. I cannot wait to be like the person that I watch in class to see how they're doing the poses. I'm in awe at some of these people. I'm excited for them, motivated by them, and can't wait to grow and be like them. I think it's a pretty great example of how we build confidence. Okay, maybe for you, probably most of you, it's not yoga. Maybe it's being in a room full of people networking, or a work meeting where you have to present something. Maybe it's dating if you're single and haven't gotten yourself out there in a long time. Maybe it's trying a new adventure that you're nervous about. It can be anything. Just so happens that for me, right now, at this point in my life, it's yoga. So, in this episode, I want to talk about all things confidence. I paused there and looked back and laughed for a second for those of you listening because my dog's in the room and I'm wondering if you can hear him. Anyway, in this episode, I want to talk about all things confidence. Confidence to bet on yourself. Confidence to hang in there when the going gets tough. Confidence to keep moving forward regardless of what lies ahead. And confidence in yourself to handle your ish, whatever that ish may be. Work with me here. I'm trying to keep this clean. Confidence is a funny thing. Even people who have an abundance of it are brought to their knees at certain times. I know I have been, and I'm sure I will continue to be. It happens to everyone. But the thing is, we don't really talk about it as much as maybe we should. I find that at my most difficult points, my confidence in myself and in what I am doing is what ultimately raises me up. Sometimes it can take time, though, to come to the surface. So, to start, where does confidence come from? And why is it so important? I felt long and hard about this, as I do each week for all these episodes. And initially, when I was jotting down notes for this one, I instantly went to a lot of our confidence coming from our own lived experiences. I do believe that. But initially, I was sort of thinking of it in a one-sided manner. Like, for instance, you do something and find success with it, so it keeps building you up, sort of that positive reinforcement, right? Okay, I just paused and restarted because now my dog is on my lap. So for those of you listening, if you hear any grunting, I have a French bulldog named Levi. And if you've experienced French bulldogs, you know what they sound like. I'm going to try and raise the microphone up a tiny bit. And if you're listening, you can always watch this on YouTube if you'd like to see. But yeah, you know what? He hasn't felt well today. And He got a little sick earlier, so I think he just wants to be on my lap. So that's where we're at right now in this recording of this episode, is he is now on my lap. Okay, let's go back. I want you to think back to when you were a kid, or maybe you have kids and you can see this through them. A lot of kids have confidence. They can be fearless. They get out there and try things. They make new friends and seemingly aren't quite as afraid as adults. Why is that? Why at times are we more afraid as adults? Why at times does it seem we lack as much confidence as kids or ourselves when we were a kid? I don't Of course, I'm not saying that every kid has all the confidence in the world. Of course, this isn't a blanket statement to put every kid in one category of confidence. But I think the point is, you know what I'm talking about. I believe that a certain amount of confidence is ingrained in us when we're young. I think some confidence we're just naturally born with, and then experiences can either shake it or empower it. As kids, we sort of naturally have some confidence built in, at least I believe that. And as we grow up, we either get into the high school or college that we want, empowering our confidence, or we don't, rattling it. We either make that sports team or we don't. We get that job or we don't. The list can go on. Some things we used to have confidence in fade as we get older, but we also gain confidence in other areas. Things that we're good at. The first time we go skiing and don't fall, confidence builder. The first time we ride a bike with no training wheels, confidence builder. As we grow up, the first job interview that wasn't a train wreck, confidence builder. The first time we actually hit a golf ball, if you're me anyway, at that sweet spot of the club without topping the ball, confidence builder. Yes, it is constantly evolving based on our lived experiences. But I want you to stay on this trip down memory lane with me for a second. And that time when you were a kid, when things like salary, the house or apartment your family lived in, the type of car your family had, none of that mattered until we got old enough that suddenly it did. And when things started to matter, comparisons began. The second we got to an age to compare ourselves, everything changed. Suddenly, our confidence was vulnerable. At least that's how I see it. I think this is important because taking a scenario like, say, being in a room full of people at a networking event, if you're the quiet, shy, maybe not super confident type, sort of like me when I was growing up, it can be easy to be in that room and make so many comparisons between you and others in there, from outfit selection to personality to who's talking to who and everything in between. For most of us, the little kid in us, before we cared about comparing, would maybe go into that room and be bold enough to make some friends. Let's get back to that. Let's get back to less worrying about everyone else and more just doing our best. You all right, Levi? Okay, buddy. Hi. So with that in mind, I have a few questions, thoughts, ideas, and observations to share with you. Starting with, what can we do to build confidence? Well, number one, I just referenced it. Stop comparing. I recognize that it is easier said than done. But what about trying to compliment people instead of looking at what they have that maybe we don't? What about looking at someone else and say maybe a position you want? And instead of being envious, we use it as momentum, a motivating force to keep pushing, understanding what they did to get there and strive to be there yourself one day. Putting in the work to get exactly what you want. Be motivated, not jealous of other people's successes, and use that motivation to push harder and accomplish your goals. Number two, spend time reflecting on your story. Growth is all about self-reflection. We have to spend the time looking at ourselves, what we're doing, what we've accomplished, what we've yet to accomplish. We have to look at what works and what doesn't. We have to look at what we bring to the table and the value we can add to others. The value we add is different from the value others add. So we should recognize our own and appreciate it. But you're a good boy. All right, it's just me now. Levi's on the floor next to me again. So now we go to number three, do the hard work. I know it seems like an eye roll type of statement, but it's true. I believe that we get out of things what we put into them. If you want to be more confident in certain aspects, you have to work at it. It might require making yourself uncomfortable and putting yourself in certain situations, even just for practice. The more work we do and the more prepared we are, the more confident we will be. Number 4, this is important. Do not shy away from your uniqueness. I was speaking to a class at the University of Notre Dame in the spring, asking students not just about their academic experiences, but also their out of the classroom hobbies and interests to see if we could pull any skills from them that could translate to the working world. And a student said that he liked leather making and said, well, what good is that in a networking conversation, a job interview, or in any professional setting? And I said, oh my gosh, a lot. First of all, it is memorable and unique. Second, there are skills attached to this hobby that absolutely can translate to a potential job, such as attention to detail and precision. We all need to do the work and reflect on our uniqueness and figure out how it translates to something greater. When we know what we are capable of, what we have to offer, and what makes us stand out, guess what? Along comes more confidence and the ability to better tell your story. Which leads me to number 5, know your elevator pitch. When we do the self-reflection, crafting that pitch is so much easier. This is the brief time we have to showcase who we are and what we have to offer. But you have to know this going into an event or an interview. This is your story, the one that makes an impression. It should be concise and steeped in the understanding of the skills that you offer. It should be memorable and show your uniqueness, and then show how that uniqueness translates to the professional world. It should roll off your tongue without the slightest bit of hesitation, but it should not be memorized. It should show who you are professionally with a splash of your personality. It should leave people feeling like they have a sense of who you are and that they want more. Number 6, research and be prepared. This is one of my favorites when I coach people. Here's an example. A different student from Notre Dame. Before she had a big networking event, I was coaching her and told her ways to prepare and suggested researching some of the people that were going to be there and that she might be interested in speaking with. I gave her some personal examples of times I myself researched people for my events that I would go to, and that I do much more than just a quick Google search. I went beyond that. I would watch videos they were in, listen to podcasts they were a part of, basically anything I could find within reason. And it would always provide me with a place to start a conversation. So she did that. She was going to this event, wanted to speak to a woman, listen to a podcast that she was a guest on. And when it came time for the event, she did, in fact, approach the woman and start up a conversation. And at some point did mention listening to the podcast. And the woman was blown away. She was so impressed. The two were able to make a real connection and carry it beyond that event. That's one example, one way to research and be prepared. Another is knowing commonalities with people to use in a conversation. Like for me, I love to golf. We've established that. If I'm speaking with someone who I also know likes golf, it's a commonality. I can bring it up as an easy way to connect or an easy way to start a conversation when in doubt. Back to that student I was just telling you about. By her doing that homework beforehand, she walked into that event with the confidence to make that conversation happen and ultimately start a professional relationship. Kudos to her. Number 7, challenge yourself. I love this one. I speak about it all the time because I think it's important and I believe in it. We have to get out of our comfort zone and out of our own way. So when all else fails, at times, here's what I do. I give myself a challenge. Just in this case, say walking into a room, an event, and striking up random conversations with, say, 3 people. Or like yoga. I've challenged myself to get through a class, being able to keep up, whatever that takes. At this point, it is me I am competing against, no one else. And when I'm competing against myself, I write the rules. So maybe you try it. If you're in a situation where you need a bout of confidence, try competing with yourself instead of others. Guess what? You'll win and you'll grow. Pretty cool. Works for me. Number 8, build relationships. This is important. Relationships are not transactional. Otherwise, they are not relationships at all. When you have solid relationships in your life, You have support. And when you have support, that brings about a certain bit of confidence. Keep building them in meaningful ways. Transactions are for the grocery store, not relationships. Number 9, you hear me talk about this, celebrate the wins. Take the time to appreciate your accomplishments and the things that you do well, and remember that other people may be looking at you wishing they could do something like you do. Celebrate the daily wins, the little things that happen throughout the day. It is easy to fall into the trap of looking at the negative. Trust me, I get it. When I golf, let's be honest, I'm not great. I've been playing 8 or so years. If you know golf, I'm basically a double bogey golfer on average. Since the first year I started playing, at the end of every round, I pick my shot of the day. No matter how bad the round was, and some have been awful, I still pick my favorite shot. It allows me to walk away with a positive thought and then wanting to come back for more. I think if we pick our shot of the day, our favorite shot, our favorite moment of the day, every single day, and try to go to sleep with that thought, I think that might help. In fact, I did it last night. I know life happens. There are a million different stressors. I live them too every single day, but mindset matters, and mindset can build or break our confidence. So I'll make this promise right here, right now, that at the end of each day, like when I golf, I'll try to pick my favorite shot of the day and hang my hat on that. Maybe you can try to do the same. Let me know. Number 10, hit the repeat button. Keep putting yourself out there. Keep making yourself uncomfortable. Keep putting in the work, doing the reflection, being prepared, celebrating the wins, and keep growing. Here's why I think those 10 things are important. If you're an entrepreneur, a business owner like me, every day you must have confidence to handle what comes your way. You can't worry about what everyone else is doing. There is no time to be concerned about others. Your focus has to be laser sharp, and confidence in what you're trying to do has to be paramount. If you're a leader, you have to be able to reflect on your leadership style, your decision making, the guiding principles of your organization. You have to be able to see and appreciate the uniqueness, strength, and weaknesses of your team members. You need to be able to see their passions and their skill sets and how they can best help the team. You need to have confidence in your team to get the job done, and they have to have the confidence in you to lead them. Confidence as a leader is not a wish, it is a necessity. And at the end of the day, we are all leaders in our own lives. So let's act like it. We have to root for our own success. Plenty of people out there are rooting for you, but let me tell you, some are not. Probably more than we think are not. I've experienced it. It sucks. It's unfortunate when we have to learn that the hard way, but it's true. The more our confidence can evolve from us versus others around us, the better we'll be in the long run. Just like we can't rely on others to make us happy, we can't rely on others to give us confidence. Sure, they can add a boost or be a shoulder or an ear when we need it, but it has to come within. That true confidence must come from within. I'll add this. Confidence is silent. Confident people don't need to make their confidence known. Insecure people try to make their confidence known. But the thing is, it's not authentic. People can see through it. I was trying to think of what I believe confidence is, and I think it's kind. I think it is graceful, elegant, and helpful. I think it's powerfully subdued. It's not in your face, but it gets your attention because of its calm demeanor. I think confidence is within each of us, but we have to get out of our own way for it to shine. Growing up, I was always the shy and reserved type. Years after I started my career in broadcast journalism, one of my high school teachers joked that she couldn't believe that I wound up on TV because I rarely spoke in class. And at times throughout my career in broadcasting, I was a bit unsure. We all are at times, right? But I made it from just about the smallest market in the country to the fourth largest TV market in the country in a matter of 2 years, and then to national television as an anchor. I have had countless people, especially women, try to knock me down and others down. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I realized that I never wanted to be that there was enough room for all of us to succeed. The moment we realize that there is enough room for all of us is the second we stop some of the comparisons to others that are responsible for bringing so many people down. As I wrap up this episode, I leave you with these questions. What can you do today to celebrate your wins? Maybe it's trying to pick your shot of the day, like my golf example. What can you do to make yourself a little uncomfortable so that you can ultimately grow and gain confidence, like my yoga example? What can you do to get out of your own way so that the confidence that is within can come to the surface? As I referenced at the start of this episode, I believe that we all have confidence built in. It was with us as kids and it is in there now. But over time, yeah, life happens and things get buried. I hope we can all try to get out of our way just enough to make small steps to being the most confident person that we can be. And thank you for allowing Levi to make his credentialed appearance today. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Credentialed. See you next time.